expand our imagination.
Justification for being what you are.
Hello and welcome to Washington Unplugged. I'm John Dickerson. If you like politics, this is a high time for you. We've got incumbents in peril, angry voters, and the White House on the line in primaries tomorrow in Pennsylvania, Arkansas, and Kentucky. We're going to talk about all of that with Marc Ambinder, CBS News political analyst. Marc, let's start in Pennsylvania. Arlen Specter, 5 terms as a Republican. Now he's a Democrat. He's in trouble. What's going to happen?
At this point, it looks like he may be on his way out. Congressman Joe Sestak, who ignored White House pleas not to run, seems to have the momentum in the latter stages of this race. And you talk to people in Washington, even some people who are associated with Specter's campaign, and they say that this may be the Lions' last roar.
The White House tried to get Sestak not to run. They backed Arlen Specter. He's appearing in the president is appearing in a Specter ad. Did the White House back the wrong guy?
You know, I don't know if they had a choice. Part of the negotiations to get Specter to become a Democrat that Vice President Joe Biden brokered included White House support for Specter's primary. It was made very clear at the time. So not sure if the White House had that much of a choice, but within not having a choice, they had a choice as to how much they could campaign for Specter. And one thing you don't see Obama doing is going to Pennsylvania and making an in-person appearance, which could, in theory, juice up the electorate enough to get Specter over the hump.
He's going to Ohio tomorrow. You almost expect the plane to go around Pennsylvania airspace.
Right.
They're trying to avoid it so much. Quickly, last question on Specter. If you're a candidate running in 2010 for November, do you worry about promises of support from the White House? Do you look at this and say, oh gosh, maybe the president's not going to help me out either?
I think what you do is you have to realize that there is a disjuncture between people's, and even within the Democratic Party, people's support for President Obama generally and their dissatisfaction with Washington at large. And you're seeing it across the electorate. People are able to distinguish between the Democratic Party and the president, which is something you really haven't seen in midterms. It's a bit of a new dynamic, and I think it does give candidates pause. Even candidates in districts where President Obama could help, not only do they have to wonder if he's going to come, they're going to have to wonder what difference it's going to make.
There's a congressional race in the 12th district in Pennsylvania that you think is the real one we're going to be talking about on Wednesday.
Of all the races and all the primaries, all the special elections that we're seeing and will have between now and the November election, Pennsylvania's 12th congressional district, the special election, will probably tell us the most about the fall. I mean, it's a race that has all the features of the contest that we'll see in the fall. It's essentially a referendum on the economy, who's at fault for it, and which solutions are best. You have the Republican running essentially an anti-Washington, anti-Democrat, anti-Obama campaign. You have the Democrat running on the fact that it's the Republican policies that got everyone into this mess. There are some, quirky factors to this. This was John Murtha's district, a Democrat, which he held for a long time. But President Obama's approval rating is low enough that the Republican should easily win this seat. And if the Republican doesn't, I think us pundits in Washington are going to have to revise our thinking about whether this is a wave election year for Republicans.
Let's talk about the Rand Paul. What do we expect of his? Looks like he's going to win in Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do we expect, or what will we be able to draw on Wednesday morning from his victory if he wins?
Well, be interested to see how large or not large the smile on Mitch McConnell's face is when he appears with Rand Paul at a unity breakfast, which he is, or with the victor, but we assume it's going to be Rand Paul. Mitch McConnell being the minority leader of the Senate. This is his state. He endorsed his hand-picked candidate, Trey Grayson, the Secretary of State, who's going to lose miserably. The question for Rand Paul, I think, is Rand Paul, does he hold positions that are out of the mainstream enough so that a Democrat in a state like Kentucky can win in November? And the answer is, when you look at the panoply of Republican candidates around the country, you look at what's happened in the state of Kentucky, Rand Paul could be a pretty good candidate for Republicans. And I think Republicans, you're going to see the Republican establishment, to the extent that Rand Paul wants the Republican establishment because he's run against it this whole time, I think you're going to see the Republican establishment, put a lot of money behind his candidacy, and I think they're going to support him as if he were one of their own.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the theatrics, at least, of an establishment event, like a unity dinner or whatever, where they all raise their arms, supposedly, when you've got an anti-establishment candidate.
Right.
Let's now go to Arkansas.
Right.
What's your guess about what happens there?
It's going to be a tight race, but it looks as if the incumbent Blanche Lincoln on the Democratic side is going to prevail over her primary challenger, Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter. Halter has been the recipient of between $5 and $7 million worth of money from labor unions. Labor being very upset at Blanche Lincoln for a variety of sins, both real and sort of nitpicky. The primary one being her dawdling on health care, also her opposition to card check, which is not really an issue in Arkansas. So the question is, was labor's money worth it, even if Bill Halter loses? You could say, well, they got Blanche Lincoln to support a very aggressive derivatives crackdown bill. But you could also argue that labor wasted $5 to $7 million.
Right.
It's not clear at this point whether, even if Lincoln wins, she's going to make it through without needing a runoff, because she needs more than 50% of the vote. So perhaps labor in the next month could come in and spend more money and defeat her. I think that's probably unlikely. I think if she wins by a comfortable margin on Tuesday, she's probably going to win the nomination.
Quickly on her, she was supposed to be dead, and she's
2
come
months
back
ago,
a little. What's why?
I'm sure. I mean, 2 months ago, I was among those who said that it would take a miracle, essentially. But she has campaigned really hard and very smartly. One of the things that she's done, which is a bit counterintuitive, is she has engendered a bit of state pride among Arkansans about Arkansans.
You'll be getting letters on that.
I'll be getting letters, and we'll find out about the degree to which she has clout in Washington and has brought a lot of money and jobs back to the state, which is not something you'd think would necessarily work in this anti-Washington year, but she's really messaged this in a smart way.
The good people of Arkansas, whatever they be named.
I love you all. I just don't know what to call you.
Our Fernando Suarez was among the good people of Arkansas recently, taking a look at this race. What was it like on the ground? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I agree with Marc. Clearly, Blanche Lincoln's up in the polls, but the energy down there was anything but. I mean, Bill Halter has a lot of energy going on. There were a lot of supporters outside of the debate hall. When I was there, Lincoln had nobody. People were coming by scrambling just to get a few signs up there. Following the debate, the media just swarmed Halter, and you saw Lincoln standing on the other side of the room just trying to shake hands with a few people. I mean, it really reminded me of the final days of the Clinton campaign, where there was a campaign that seemed to be losing steam.
The Hillary Clinton
campaign, that is. And it seemed to be losing steam, and just, President Obama, or candidate Obama at the time, had all the energy and all the support behind him. So she may be up in the polls. I don't know if that energy is going to translate into more turnout, but that's what I was seeing when I was down there.
Okay, well, and Fernando has a piece that we're going to take a look at right now.
This is how we're going to win this election, 1 and 2 voters at a time.
That's the only way.
I'm not sure we can buy everybody apple pie, though.
It may seem like it's been all apple pie and ice cream.
Me and Monty, hot diggity.
But the Arkansas Senate race tastes more like sour apples than sugary sweet. And the biggest fight is between candidates in the same party.
I have not run a negative campaign. I have run a comparative campaign.
Your campaign, not third-party groups, your campaign has put out 7 negative mailers on me.
Bill said in his speech in Pennsylvania, which was he did believe that you could invest Social Security in the stock market.
And she has taken $125,000 in campaign contributions from those banks, and I'm going to ask Senator Lincoln today to give those contributions back.
Go, Bill, go! Go, Bill, go!
During Friday's debate, Halter drew a large crowd of supporters, leaving Lincoln loyalists scrambling just to put up a few campaign signs. Blanche Lincoln is just one of the many incumbents trapped in a re-election battle during a political season when all things Washington are less than desirable.
This is a time when if you're a D.C. insider, you've got experience, and especially Washington experience, it's not an asset. I mean, it's going to really come back and hurt you.
Halter's message is simple, and one that's all too familiar.
Choice here is simple. You can continue with the same Washington policies, or you can vote for change.
Hi, Dave.
As for the Republicans, frontrunner Congressman John Bozeman says he's ready to take on any candidate who tries to paint him as a Washington insider.
The American people are rejecting the messages coming out of the White House. They're rejecting the messengers. We saw this in Virginia, we saw it in New Jersey, we saw it in Massachusetts, and we're going to see it in Arkansas.
Finally, First Lady Michelle Obama spoke to the students of George Washington University yesterday. It wasn't just because the university is down the street and convenient, but because the students completed 100,000 hours of community service, a challenge the First Lady had put to them. Zoe Petkanas was the student speaker at that ceremony, and she joins us now. I know you spoke, but I want to first talk about the First Lady and her remarks. What did she say?
Well, she issued another challenge to the students of George Washington University. She said that to keep going and to sort of become global citizens and not just citizens of the greater DC area. She talked about that the problems that we face sort of transcend national boundaries and that we need to work together as a global community to address these problems. And so that's the sort of new challenge that she put to us as we enter the world.
And when she issued this challenge, did the school kind of catch fire? Was it the kind of thing people were like, oh, I didn't realize this was out there? What was the response to that challenge to do 100,000 hours?
I mean, I think that we completed something in the thousands of hours in the first day that the challenge was issued, and I think after 7 weeks we had completed 19,000 hours. So everybody was really enthusiastic, and everybody really wanted to see Michelle Obama come and speak to us. And GW is a pretty service-oriented school anyway, but everybody was really excited and everybody contributed.
Now there was another challenge which you were a part of, which was to get the role of the student speaker. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, each school in the university, I'm part of the Elliott School of International Affairs. Each school holds their own competition to speak at the individual school celebration. So at first I wrote a 5-minute speech just for the Elliott School graduation, and then they picked someone to speak at the Elliott School celebration but nominated me to compete in the university-wide commencement competition.
So how many people, since you won, were you speaking to?
Well, yesterday I spoke to about 25,000 people, I think.
Ever done that before? No,
I haven't. I do student theater at GW, but I've never spoken to anything like that before.
And so what was it like?
It was exhilarating. It was so much fun. It was such an honor to share the stage with First Lady Obama. You know, I felt really fortunate that I had the opportunity to speak to issues that I care about and sort of talk about my experiences at GW. It was very, very fun.
And finally, you met the First Lady.
Yes.
What was that like?
She's incredibly gracious and so nice. She gave me a hug after my speech, and she actually signed a copy of my speech before we went on stage, so that was really nice. But she was incredibly gracious and really wonderful.
And now, so what's next for you now that you've graduated?
In about a month, I'm heading to Muscat, Oman, on a State Department Critical Language Scholarship to study Arabic.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. Zoe Petkanas, thanks so much
for
joining us, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks all of you for joining us at Washington Unplugged. We'll be here again tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on CBSNews.com. I'm John Dickerson. Have a great day.